Starting things off is the 100th anniversary of the birth of legendary jazz saxophonist Charlie Parker. A contemporary opera playing in Seattle for the first time gives a what-if look at the jazz legend's life. And here with a preview of Charlie Parker's Yardbird is Frederick Ballentine.
What a night, what a sight for sore eyes. Birdland, birdland, birdland. I doubted that I'd see this place again. What a night, what a sight. Is named after me. Look at the marquee. See, it's me. Birdland, birdland, birdland. I doubted that I'd see this place again. Hey there, birds, my little friends. Ooh, zee-be-da-doo-dee-da-doo. Can you see me? Do you still know me? I'm Bird, the ghost bird. Ah, the bad, 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 bad cat bird. Can you see me? Zee-ba-dee-dee-da-dee-dee-da-dee. What a sight for sore eyes. Birdland, birdland, birdland. I doubted that I'd see this place again.
I'm
wonderful.
Good to meet you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes,
of course.
I'm an overhugger.
Me too.
Good. We're good for each other. So this story is based on Charlie Parker's life, but it doesn't feature his music, correct?
Right.
So explain this to me and the story behind it.
You know, when the composer wrote this, he actually wanted to make sure that there was no saxophone in this at all. So we really wanted to take it away from Charlie's music, which made him famous, and just really dive into his life, which actually ruined him, you know? So instead of focusing on his music and his virtuosity and his genius, we focus on his downfall, and we focus on his addiction and his relationships to people. And his relationships were quite interesting because this man was, despite his addiction, he was enormously charismatic. And he was able to charm the pants off of anyone and the money from anybody as well. So we just try to put those relationships forward and allow the audience to see into somebody who had a very troubled life.
Yeah, a tragic life in many ways. And it also speaks to the difference in time when we didn't know much at all about what to do about addiction or mental health or any of those things.
Exactly. I mean, it's quite sad to me. Yeah, it's quite sad to me. He got addicted to heroin because he was in a car accident, I think at 16. And he had a spinal injury, and the doctor prescribed him heroin and warned him of addiction.
Isn't that amazing? Thinking about that now, you're like,
isn't that crazy?
How is that possible?
Yeah.
But there we go with this amazingly talented man. What is his significance in music for people who aren't as familiar with his music?
I mean, well, he was pretty much the king of bebop. You know, I mean, he kind of pioneered a new age of jazz. And along with his contemporaries like Dizzy Gillespie, they just went out there and they put their bebop out there into the world. And in some places it was well received, like in New York. In other places like California, it wasn't. But they were the ones who started it. Exactly.
And we should listen again if we haven't listened before. So we're putting some classical music together with jazz influences in this show. If you can describe a bit to me how that plays out.
Yeah, you know, Daniel Schnieder, the composer, he doesn't have, like I said, he doesn't have like a sax in it at all, but he is a very, very brilliant jazz clarinetist as well, and reedist, I guess. He did all of those things. So instead, he definitely has me doubled a lot with that jazz clarinet.
Right.
There are times, I'm sure you heard it, where I have to do these little scat moments that I tell you are not my strength, and I have been learning along the way. Oh, thank you.
But that's good though, right? That's such good vocal training.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's been a learning curve. It's been me figuring out how to actually immerse myself in an art form of which I'm not quite familiar. But throughout the piece, you'll hear like really, really beautiful jazz moments, but at the same time, you'll have that gorgeous string section under it, giving you that really, really strong classical overlay. And there are also moments where everyone in the cast has to join in on that to really like bring forward what Charlie was about, you know? But at the same time, it is still an opera. We may call it a jazz opera, but it is still an opera, you know? So we always go back to the classical foundation.
And the roots.
Yeah.
How did you get started as an opera singer?
How
young were you when you knew that opera was your thing?
Honestly, I did not want to do this. This was not my choice. My
parents backed into this, baby. Huh?
They pushed me into this. My parents knew that I was thought that I was talented. And so
they were right.
Thank you. So they made me perform constantly around my area. I'm from Norfolk, Virginia. Yeah. And they made me perform constantly. At some point, they heard about a performing arts high school in my area. They forced me to audition. I didn't want to. I tried to sabotage the audition. It didn't work. I still got in. A little boy soprano, Freddie, still got in. And from the moment we got in, I was like, oh, wow, this is opera. It was only opera. And I was like, wow, this is really, really cool. And I didn't know black people could do this. I didn't know that people outside of white people could sing opera. And so it blew my mind. And then I fell in love with performing. Before I fell in love with singing opera, I fell in love with performing. And once my voice changed from voice soprano to a baritone. I was actually a baritone before I became a tenor.
You're not a soprano anymore.
I am not a soprano anymore. I may give you some falsetto every now and again in the opera, but that's it. But once my voice changed and I realized that it could be possible for me to have a career, I decided to give it a try, and it's worked out well.
The Seattle Opera got a shout out the other day in the New York Times about equity, racial equity in performance, and we need that in opera. Yes,
oh, yes.
And that's badly imbalanced right now. So that's one question. My other question is about Black History Month and the community events around this particular production, which I think are really, really important. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, let me answer the latter first. Right now, Seattle Opera has the Black representation in the Arts Forum that's happening tonight, actually, at our resident offices, at Seattle Opera's offices. So that's going to be quite interesting. It's going to be led by Naomi Andre, who is our opera scholar, and she's the first one in the country to actually hold a title like that in opera. And so I'm actually going to attend that. I think that's going to be very exciting. They had another event last night too that I wasn't able to go to, but Seattle Opera on the whole has been a champion of integration in the classical arts, you know, and unfortunately it's not something that you see everywhere, but this company has been trying to do that for a long time, actually. I think I started in high school, and I've known the Black singers at this company specifically since then.
And it's so important, I would imagine, tell me if I have this right, for you to have seen those performers in the same way that people see performers who look like them now. All the talent that's left on the table when people can't imagine themselves in these different jobs.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you know, I grew up and, or I can't say I grew up, but from high school I saw people like, I know.
Don't even start like it was your choice.
But from high school, I saw people on the stage like Jesse Norman and Leontine Price, gorgeous, ethereal women who were like leading the charge. And I didn't see that many guys doing it. And then all of a sudden, I started seeing other guys who were doing what I wanted to do, I saw people like Larry Brownlee. And I saw, and then after Larry, I saw Russell Thomas. I mean, I'm talking about tenors specifically, who were just out there singing for their lives, you know, and really making it happen. And seeing people like that on the stage, for me as a young person, a young black man, that was invaluable. You know, I think a lot of young black kids don't think they can do something because they don't see themselves doing it. But when you see yourself doing something, it just like unleashes your dreams in a way.
I relate to that with what little girls grew up with in my generation too. And now suddenly we can be astronauts and things, so keep opening those doors.
Yes,
Thank you very much. That was beautiful. Seattle Opera's production of Charlie Parker's Yardbird opens on February 22nd. It runs through March 7th at McCaw Hall. Go out and support Freddie and see the whole team.